Howdy there, folks in YouTube land. This is Lone Moose, or Bill W. Not the AA Bill W, but just one of the many in this country. I wanted to take a couple of minutes here and introduce myself to you as I launch my YouTube channel. Give you a little bit of background on myself, where I'm at, what I'm doing, what I want to accomplish with the channel. Right now I live in the South Texas, San Antonio general area, right at the base of the Texas Hill Country. I've been here for 7 years now. I moved here after I retired from working with Department of Veterans Affairs in D.C. Between my Army time and my time with the VA, I retired with 25 years of government service. I still continue to work in a service role. I work for a medical services company that we contract with the VA for special programs. It's something very near and dear to my heart. I've been working with the healthcare industry for well over 30 years, dealing primarily with soldiers from the Army time, veterans with the VA time. So anything I do for them is deeply personal to me. Right now, I plan on retiring in the next 2 years or so, and I will be moving up to the Kenai Peninsula area of Alaska. I've been in love with Alaska since I was in the 5th grade. That's been a long time ago. My 5th grade teacher actually had spent the summer before my 5th grade year at Point Barrow, Alaska, teaching in the summer for the native school there. And so all during our 5th grade year, she would show us pictures, photos, slideshows of what life was like in Alaska, and I've been in lust with it ever since. In the 1970s, I was a police officer in Irving, Texas, and during that time, had a young man that got in some trouble, had a whole bunch of traffic tickets, so he was in our jail, and I happened to be detailed to the jail at the time. We kind of struck up a friendship. He had actually been working on the Alaska pipeline for a year and a half and was just back visiting when he got himself in trouble. So that kind of fueled the love again. But then, you know, life came over, marriage, kids, change of jobs and careers, locations, all that kind of good stuff. But while I was working with the VA in 2006, February 2006, in Salt Lake City, I had applied for another job with VA in Anchorage, Alaska. So we went up and spent a week there, just checking out the area, the job, and just totally fell in love with it again. And then during my years in the DC central office for VA, we were rolling out a new program, so went to Anchorage in 2010 for work. Excuse me. And then, you know, after I retired from VA, I had already bought some remote property outside of Anchor Point, which is kind of the southern end of the Kenai Peninsula, sight unseen. Lessons learned, and there'll be another video on that one of these days. But it was so remote, and you know, reality kind of hit home that in the mid-60s, that's just not a good idea to start building a homestead from scratch that remote. So I ended up selling that property, and I'd been up to Anchorage and Fairbanks for work a couple of times, and then in summer of 2019, an old high school buddy of mine, Jim, we were rivals during high school in the 60s in Kansas City, and you know, in our junior ROTC program, he ended up being #1, I was #2. But we reconnected on Facebook and for a couple of years. And Jim mentioned he had bought some remote property in Alaska and was going to go up August of last year to try and find that property. And so I told him about my experiences I'd had, and you know what I had to do to go through trying to actually locate this property. It's a real challenge in Alaska. So I basically popped off one of my smart-ass remarks and said, "Hey, you want some company? I'll get up there and help you try and find this." And I'm like, "Sure." So we made arrangements, and in the middle of August, we both flew up into Anchorage and met face-to-face at the car rental counter for the first time since graduation night, May of 1971. It was awesome. We never really did get all the way back to his property. Again, that's kind of another video I'll post here one of these days. But we ended up spending some time exploring there, learned how to salmon fish on the Kenai, caught some fish. Just generalized exploring. We were looking at some properties kind of in general, and went out to the Exit Glacier. That was really neat. I actually got to hold some pieces of ice in my hand that had broken off the glacier. If you can imagine, ice that was over 10,000 years old. It's an incredible and very humbling experience. So after our trip was over, he went back to Kansas City, I come back to South Texas, and we'd kind of gotten the bug to, okay, well, let's see if we can each find some property up there that we like. So we planned another trip and went back up in September, and nothing really struck our fancy at that time. But we kept looking and kept looking. So, there'll be stories about some of those adventures, and what I'm doing in preparation for moving and retiring up there. Some of the other things that I want to do with the channel, I want to do some motorcycle rides here in the South Texas and the Hill Country area. In a very rustic way, it's a really pretty area. So I hope you'll enjoy some of those. When I lived in Salt Lake City, I did competition barbecue a couple of times. So I'll have some videos on here about smoking meats of different kinds, things like that. I also, I'm a gun nut. Now, straight up, certified Texas gun nut. Love shooting, love reloading. I've got some rifles that I have built, some uppers for ARs that I've built, so I'll be sharing some of those kind of stories. Sometimes there'll be some
political commentary.
And again, truth in advertising, I'm a liberal, I'm a progressive. And I know that sounds contradictory for being a gun nut, but hey, everybody can have multiple likes and dislikes. Nobody's pigeonholed. You shouldn't be pigeonholed into something just because of their political or ethnic or religious beliefs. So if you don't like the political aspect of commentary, or you don't agree with my belief, then don't watch those videos. But I hope you'll enjoy some of the others. I have some videos that I will be doing on gardening here in South Texas. I've just got a very wide range of interests, so you never know quite what you're going to find here. I've been toying with this idea of doing a YouTube channel for a couple of months. I've got a couple of special friends that have been pushing me and egging me on to do this. So this will be my first video I post. I've chosen the channel name of the Lone Moose. And people ask, well, why do you want to do something like that? Why the Lone Moose? Well, first off, a moose is one of the symbols of Alaska. So that's where I plan on ending up and spending, the rest of my years. So number one. Number two, I'm always been kind of a loner. Even like motorcycle rides, I prefer to ride alone. I go to the range, I prefer to be alone. So it kind of made sense. I've got to learn how to do the video editing software. One of the channels I follow quite a bit is a young couple that lives in Willow, Alaska. Their channel is called Simple Living Alaska. I strongly recommend you check this out. Really great folks. I've actually become friends with them on Facebook, and if the COVID situation abates enough by late summer, early fall, I am going to make another trip up there this year, and I plan on spending a day or two just visiting with them. There's a lot I've learned from them just from watching their videos. I've got probably more friends in Alaska than I do in Texas, which is kind of a strange situation, but it is what it is. So they recommended Vegas Movie Studio 16 as their editing software. So now, as an old man, I have to learn how to do that kind of stuff. For my filming, I use the DJI Osmo Action. Again, it's kind of that loner thing. I don't want to fall into the same situation that most people do on YouTube, and they use the GoPros. I really like the DJI Osmo. I've been filming videos now for a few weeks, and I'm going to start pulling them all together now and editing them and get them ready to post. But I love the quality, about half the price of the GoPro, and from everything I've seen, the quality is as good, if not better. So join me on this adventure. This is kind of going to be a chronology of life forward from this point. I may at some point try and do conversion of some of my old VHS-C tapes that I shot when I was stationed in Germany in the late 1990s for some of that travel log and scenery. I don't know. Yeah, I can flip-flop wherever the direction, the mood of the day takes me is where you'll see things on here. So if you think all of this will be interesting to you, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. If you have any friends or family, please share this with them. I'm just getting this channel up and started, so any encouragement for people to subscribe will be greatly appreciated. I don't want to do this as a full-time job, not even close, but as I move into retirement, I would like to be able to make a few bucks on the side with this and share some of the adventures that I have here in Texas and the ones yet to come in Alaska, and that way we all get to know each other. So I appreciate all your time. Thank you very much, and like I say, please hit that subscribe and like button and stay tuned for future videos.